think we're
Tight.
on.
Dude, so if people are starting to join us here, we've been cutting in and out of internet streaming land, and that's just part of what happens, and we don't let it fluster us. We just make music, and we keep plowing through. That
Honestly,
was
I
so
really
fun.
I didn't care because it was
Yeah.
so much fun.
Yeah.
And this gives us actually a chance to talk about one of the things that we're doing with this show, which is we are recording all of the shows with the high quality, studio quality stuff.
Yeah.
And we're keeping the 2 tracks of the entire shows. And what we're doing is we are making those WAV files available to the subscribers of our show
That's a
at
neat.
the end of the season.
That's a neat platform.
Yeah,
That's
and then you
really
can
cool.
sample it, and it's a Creative Commons deal, and we encourage people to use it and credit us, and that kind of thing, and it's kind of a fun. Could be a marathon, not a race. That's right, not a sprint. So it's an opportunity for people to have something somewhat tangible that they can play with and peruse, and they can go digging and pull samples or whatever they want to do and just have fun with it.
You know what I like about that? It reminds me of just like catacombs and libraries.
Yeah.
And like I've always been like a fan of like big arching libraries of just like history and like things that you just keep for records. Like my favorite part of Game of Thrones is always like the South, because it was just like, we don't fuck with any of your bullshit. Just give us the facts and the information. Like, can we all agree that none of you fuck with us because we're your history? Like that type of same mentality, kind of bleeding over into the digital age, is really, really cool to see. It's like Star Wars.
Yes, it is.
It is becoming like an archive of sound.
Yeah.
It's like a music library. Like, I think
Yep.
what the ideal vision of it was, that it was some sort of Seattle music library, like that contemporarily, or that rather illustrates the contemporary sound in Seattle.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then people come here and they see what it's about, because it's not just grunge music.
And
and
we're
it's not
like
just rock
curating
music.
that sound.
Yeah.
Philip and I are.
Yeah.
That's kind of like peeking in a little bit into like what this show is. And it's like, it's kind of like creating an ecosystem out of the awesome people that we meet along the way.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, you're dope.
I feel like that's kind of like one of the cool things about Seattle in general, right? Like there's this weird sense of just like, you tend to collaborate more than you even get to know a person first. like you jump into it first with like the art.
Yeah.
And then through the art, you get to spend the time sitting down and finding out someone's background, where like a lot of times I feel in other places, it's kind of the other way around. Like you have to go through almost like a background check of coolness to be able to like sit down and jam with someone, whereas opposed to here, it's like,
oh, yeah.
let's just see what's like. The first time I walked through these doors, it was that vibe for me. Like I knew one person and I walked in and you were doing your thing, and it was just like, oh, sick. And you like your version of just like collaborating with anyone and everyone in the room and asking how they feel. That's Seattle. That's the Seattle music scene for me.
Quite a compliment. Wow.
It's also what the hip hop community should be doing too.
Absolutely.
What a lot of people are doing
That's
in
what
other
it comes
places.
from. That's why you see, and that's why Wu-Tang Clan was more than 2 people big.
Yep.
You know, is a bunch of ideas, collection of sound, not just 1 or 2 records.
I've always liked the idea of like group mentality and just like that sense of like camaraderie that you get out of like a collective of people. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned Wu-Tang Clan, Odd Future, Wolfgang, Kill 'Em All. Like that concept of like having a brand or something that like an idea speak bigger for you as a collective that you guys can all just unite under. We have like Alchemy Union here in Seattle. Like those are the homies that have like accepted me in on like when we used to have open mics down in Belltown on Sunday. Like just the like that when I modeled my band, like I wanted that same type of feeling and that vibe of just like a collective of people, and less of a band but more like a group, you know. And to see that outside of myself and other people that I just meet in the moment, and they're all on that same wavelength as me, that's like so comforting. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's like everything great about a band, but it's the more evolved step from being in a band.
Yeah, it's like
we can be a band for today.
Exactly. There's like a real sense of community that I feel like has a closer meaning and source of why we do music than just like a band or just like you got to put out an album and do that whole circuit shit. It's like, nah, let's get together and just express whatever's out.
Which includes the people watching and listening right now, too.
Absolutely.
They're all in the band.
Yep.
You know?
It's a joint experience.
That's why we do this.
Yeah.
It's part of creating the community, which is curating a new sound. I think I like to think of kind of the modern art period where they're like the Andy Warhol lofts and stuff like that, where all these artists were like getting together and all these ideas were being shared in the same room. And I like to try to think of like that as being the ideal, because it's like a zeitgeist room almost, where you think about the room itself more than the people in it or the ideas that come out of it. You're like, dang, think of like David Bowie and Andy Warhol in the same room, and all these like crazy artists and celebrities all like mingling, trying to change the culture and trying to influence the culture. Yeah. There's a little more drug influence back then. But somewhere. I think now what we're seeing is, or at least what we're trying for, is people who are more interactive with their community and trying to make a difference in their community, and not just trying to be like, oh, if we work together, we're going to get a lottery ticket. It's
right.
Bigger than that.
For me, it's like every time I work with a project, it's like it's less about like what we're going to get out of it, and it's more about like what does it get out of us, like, you know, and where's that sense of truth that's coming out of it. Like for projects, whenever I'm like looking at music, so I don't really focus on money as much anymore. Like when I look at music, I look at it more as like, what is it that you're seeking? Like what are you trying to figure out? What's your question? What's your drive? What's your thing? And then through that question, it allows me to like really connect with the person more on a real pure music level than that superficial of like, yo, let's make a song, go play a show, and like get real hyped up, and then we can have an after party after. Like that scene served its purpose, but I feel like in this time that we're at right now, especially with all the shit that's going on, musicians are taking a sense of responsibility through the connection of music and being able to like really push and ask themselves, what are they standing for? Like, what does it mean to us? Like, how can we use this tool to both connect and also to like cope with reality as it is? And I think that's one of the things I'm most grateful for about this community that we have, that we share, that intersects and overlaps with so many different people, is that like it's so easy to feel alone, but yet we have this time to feel together, and seek that truth.
That's been my experience with a lot of Seattle music stuff. You could say scene, but I don't really. I mean, just a lot of the Seattle vibe in past years has been very siloed.
Yeah.
Where people aren't necessarily all collaborating with each other, and they're kind of off doing their own little DIY things. Yeah. And it's been really fun in the last, I'd say, 2-3 years. Things have really started to escalate and become like people want to collaborate with each other. They want to share their toys in the sandbox and get stuff done. And I feel like, you know, if I want to work with somebody for a long period of time, I'll ask less of them, because I know I want to save some of that juice for later. I don't want to just squeeze everything I can get out of them right away. You know what I mean? Like you want to build those relationships and do the long game. Yeah. So, because then it becomes about people, you know, and which is really who we're not making music for nothing.
Yeah.
You know, we're making it for people.
Yeah.
So
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, just that weird sense of community and how it's evolved over the last few years in my short time of being in Seattle. Because I've been in Seattle for 7 years, but I've been in the Pacific Northwest for 9 because I lived in Olympia.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Before. So seeing the dichotomy of music down in Olympia versus Seattle, and then also seeing the similarities of like how they also share music as a community has been really interesting. Seeing the evolution in the last 7 years of the music scene, with my involvement of not knowing anyone, and how I think that's the biggest testament I have towards the music scene. I came here with no connections. Like I knew no one. Yep. When I first moved out to the Pacific Northwest, all I had was like my guitar, my amp, and a bag of clothes. Like I just needed to reset. I had done music in San Diego for a while. I felt like I had reached like the epitome of what I could do down there for the time. And I was just like, I need to go where no one knows me, where I can just see who I am on my own. If I could build things from scratch, then this is what I'm supposed to do, without any connections, without any hand-ups, any bullshit. And Seattle allowed that to happen for me. I went from having nothing to like, I now like run my own studio downtown. I have a band, I produce bands. And it's not a testament of me, it's a testament of being able to come in and find a community, whether it be through going to Mojam Mondays and just meeting random musicians that are all searching for that same question.
Shout out Mojam.
Yeah,
Shout out Mojams.
shout out.
Love City Love, where I was the first time I had ever played with anybody. Like,
Love them.
right? Like I walked in, and the first person I met was Audra Boo. I met Heather Thomas. I met Evan Flory Barnes was like a hero of mine because he would come down to Olympia and play shows with Industrial Revolution. So like, I remember meeting him and being like in Olympia and be like, I'm gonna jam with you one day. And then I moved up to Seattle and I did Love City Love. And Isaac was playing the bass first, and then he took a bathroom break, and I turned around and I'm jamming with Heather, and then I turned back around and there's Evan Flory Barnes, and I'm just like, he's like, yeah, let's get it. And it's like, it is that sense of openness of like, show me what you got. Like, it's just so cool.
I have the funniest story about him.
He's a crazy dude. I love that guy.
He was on our stream a couple weeks ago.
Oh, tight.
Yeah. Awesome dude.
Awesome guy.
Super good player. Oh my God.
Yeah, man.
You
Like,
wouldn't even expect it if you did. I didn't know him.
yeah. Oh,
I was
yeah.
at a little tiny dive bar in Columbia City, and there's like a little 2-3 piece jamming, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go get my sax. I was feeling froggy. Didn't know this guy, and I kind of knew of him. I saw him sitting at the bar, and he saw me go get my sax, and I came back, and he sat down and was playing bass, and I was like, all right, here we go. Oh, he ate my lunch.
You just have that moment where you're just like, yeah, shit. Like,
It was
just
one of
gotta
those,
keep
like,
up.
I was really looking
hold
forward
on.
to blowing off some steam, not
Not when
thinking
he's
about
around.
it. Stevie Wonder, here we come.
But what's funny about
Like,
it, though, what I also love about Evan is that, like, he doesn't do it where he's just trying to take over. Like, he does it, and then he looks at you, and he'll try to push you, like, go. Like, it's either, like, get on the freeway or get off type status. And I don't know.
Old school player, I love him.
Yeah.
I love that.
That blend of the old, I feel like I came in at a special time where I saw a transition of the guard from a lot of old school players to the new in this decade. You know what I mean? Like Industrial Revelation. I had the privilege of playing with, there's a band called Flyman Royalty that had been around for a while, and they had killed it. And just watching them hand it off when they had decided, to do other projects and do their own things, watching them hand off their legacy and still be active members of going to those shows, which is something I had. Man, down in San Diego, sometimes people are just way too fucking cool to go to shows, and I hated that. Like, they all wanted people to go to their shows, but like they would never go out and support the scene.
Right.
And to come here and see people constantly just at shows because that's just what you do.
Artists are very supportive of each other here.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I think it's it's kind of a double-edged sword.
It is, because if you just expect all the artists to be your audience, then you're not gaining a new, different audience.
If you take it for like, this is like a think tank, then Seattle is like, it's a invaluable resource. But if you take it like, this validation makes me successful as a business person,
right?
That's
a trap.
rude awakening.
Yeah, I mean, that comes down to what your definition of what success is, right?
Very true.
That's all. I think that's a personal journey between a lot of different people. Some success for some people is like, I got that platinum record, and it's like, tight, buddy. For me, success is like going home and be like, I wasn't alone today, and I got to express that through music. It's like, ugh.
I like being able to make music.
You're going to get a lot
time.
more out of it long term than the guy with the plaque.
Yeah. Well, don't talk bad about the guy with the plaque.
Hey. I meant the guy meaning to just get the plaque, guys.
That's his only thing.
I got you.
You don't
That's
have to-
all good.
only
I
thing.
had to throw that in there.
He has a plaque, in case you
this
guys
is a
did not
coupon for
know.
one Berkeley
Many
shot.
He has many plaques. Nice things.
But for me, success is just like today. Like, I get to do this like full time.
Yeah.
Basically, I get to spend my life making music the way that I want to. That's like that's all you can ask for, really. I think.
Especially right now.
Yeah, that too.
Like
That too.
I got lucky to finally make this my full time in the last year, and God, am I so grateful that like I made that transition when I did. Now
It's rough to do it though.
while at the same time, if ever there was a time for anyone in this country that wants to reset their life and figure out another career plan, you got nothing but time.
Right.
So, that's an important factor to recognize too. Like we're all. It's weird that we're all kind of forced to sit down, shut up, and think about things.
You're going to see, as more time goes by, you're going to see people go more and more on both sides of the spectrum.
Yep.
Because there's no way to undo looking back at 2 or 3 months of squandering that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, man.
Wow. Yeah, so you said you run a studio. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's a place called Front Burner Studios. Mm-hmm. It's in an undisclosed location.
Just like this.
Just like this.
Yep.
It started with me just hanging out. Actually, the first time I went there was at an Alchemy Union event. It was a jam. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was in the process of building my band, and so I was like really heavily going around in different spots. And that spot, there was a dope jam. Dead Mike's was there, who's now the dude I work with on a lot of different projects.
Yeah.
And that was in 2016, and it was like, oh shit, this is a dope place. Keep this in the back of your mind. And then fast forward to make a band and do recordings and do all this other stuff. And then after our last show, my band has been practicing out in White Center at this dope ass spot called Wild Bill's. It's an auto shop. They also host like jam sessions.
Cool.
On Saturday. I think it's one of the most cultural relevant spots in White Center that could ever possibly exist, because this dude, like his entire breathing is for creating a space for people to make music like me.
Wow.
And so like his doors are always open to anyone that's trying to do positive things. He's a mentor for everyone. Half of my band have like other band projects that are run out of that space. Complex had been out of there for a while. The only problem is that it's very south, and a lot of the band members are more up north in the city. So we were all looking for like that next level space for us to like practice together, even though we still love, that's always going to be our home. Yeah. And so Dead Mike's was recording his alternate project called First Hill out of Front Burner. And I remember being there and just being like, I'm going to talk to the owner into sneaking into here because this is too fucking dope. I like this space. So I just bugged him for like a good week. And then they were like, all right, you're serious about it. You can hang out, and just started working there. And then now it's just my spot.
Holding the ship down.
Yep. There's 3 people that really run it. I'm one of the 3.
Okay.
Yeah, and we just rotate out, and it's my bat cave. Like it's the dream, like where you always dreamed you had that separate space away from your home that you can leave.
Yes.
And
That's amazing.
Like there's something different about taking yourself out of your home position and going to work.
When you have a place to create, and it's your space,
It's
it's
so
just
great.
Yeah,
It's
there's
beautiful.
no replacing it.
And then you just, so like it started with me and my band just rehearsing, because we're working on our second album right now, for the last year and a half. I'm trying not to become Tool, but we're lazy. And in the process of being lazy, I was like, we got a lot of space to do other things. And then a band contacted me and was like, yo, can you produce me? And then another band contacted me. Just that word of mouth shit.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
That's
and
cool.
so that's how that came into fruition. It's just not shutting up and really like being appreciative of the opportunities in front of you and letting the people know that like, hey, this space means something to me. I really want to grow and make it into something special. And I feel blessed that they were lucky to see that I wasn't bullshitting. So it's been a great ride.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned Complex. It's a band called Complex Dialect, right? Okay, can you tell me a little bit about that? Because
Complex Dialect. It's trying to where to start. Okay, so when I first moved here, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with music, I like a lot of other people of color, were dealing with the constant news of people constantly being murdered by people that are being paid to protect us, and that conundrum that comes with that. And then you take that a step like higher, and what that means towards you and the people around you and how they interact with that. And what I mean by that is there's a large growing frustration of outrage being the new norm, where everybody's outraged, but it stops there. And then the cycle repeats. And then I was talking about it with my bandmate earlier. We'll get to Complex in a second. I promise all this is important.
No, that's good. This is all good.
We were talking about like the cycle is someone dies, hashtag comes out, Black Lives Matter, articles shared, outrage, outrage, outrage. Everybody goes to sleep. We watch Tiger King. We get distracted by all these other things. And not to say that I watch Tiger King and I think they're all fun too, but they become more important than the actual issue for different demographics. And that frustration was really starting to build in me at the same time of like wanting to create a new group, wanting to create a new Odd Future, wanting to create a new like Wu-Tang Clan of where it's not just about the band, it's also about the individuals and they're all making their own projects too. So I spent a lot of time going through like local scenes, jamming with people, but at the same time also getting to know them as people and what they really stood for. And it was a culmination project of just really going around and picking members one by one. I started with Lola. We met at an open jam. She was absolutely ridiculous and crucial into shaping that like concept of what I was thinking, because I was just running these ideas by her. And then we started going to Mojam Mondays together, and then we ran into I ran into Craig for Mojams. We played with him a couple times, Craig Sendricks. And I just kept finding people, and then it all accumulated on my birthday in I think 2016. By that time, I had found my bassist, Bobby McGranahan. That's like my guy. And I was just like, you know what? To finish this off, I'm just gonna host this big giant jam session at my friend's house, Ian Hughes. And he was like, he hosted it on my birthday, and we just got the craziest, best. It was a dream, man. It was like the best musicians that I had played with up until that time, all together, just to make. There was no other goal, just to make music until 5 o'clock in the morning. Cool. And then the last piece I was really missing was a drummer. And Craig was someone I'd finally played a gig with him. We did a Martin Luther King gig at a church, and he knows church chords really well, and that's my upbringing is like gospel. So like I instantly was like, I need that, because that's like all of where I come from, and I'm about to start talking about some really hard stuff. He had a friend named Oz. Everybody knows Oz.
We know Oz.
We all know Oz. That was the first day I had ever met Oz. He had brought Oz over. Oz came in. He was super respectful. He didn't just instantly try to jump in on the drums, but like other drummers were like, Oz, you should play. And I didn't get it because I didn't meet him yet. And then he gets on, and I was like, by this time, I'm pretty drunk, I'm pretty high, and I get into weird time signature shit when I'm in that way. And no other, well, Seattle's great, but there's not a lot of Seattle players that want to play in weird, odd time signatures, except Oz.
Oz loves that.
Oz loves that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, let's play 17.
Hi,
and,
Oz.
Hi, Oz. And I was just like, let's play in 17. And he was instantly like, and it was just like, and we just went. And it was unapologetic. It was like, either you get it or you don't. I'm not stopping. I'm not explaining. It was like, you got to get on. It was the freeway experience. It was the same moment I had with Evan Flory Barnes, like earlier when we were playing the Love City Love. And then my bassist instantly felt it and was like, he started playing in 17. And what sold me was that it was a groove that you could still listen to and bob your head and not feel lost, but you're off time the whole time. And so my dream with Complex was always to make the weird shit listenable, was to push the envelope on what's weird versus what's poppy versus like what needs to be said. And that was the final piece. And so then we met up in White Center. I had messaged all of them and was like, hey, I got this idea for a project. It really revolves around a lot of like political topics that are really, really hard. And they all agreed on it one by one. And then we showed up to one practice. And then the last person to join was Jib. Jib was, I don't play with other guitarists very well because other guitarists just want to jerk off all over your music. And you're just like, yo, find the vibe. It's annoying.
Yeah.
And
Pocket is so important.
it's so important. And Jib was just there because he played with Craig and Oz all the time. And Jib just instantly fit in. Like, no one asked him to play. No one asked him to stop. He was just already there playing. It was like a magical creature that was just like already in the corner, just set up and ready to go. And then he just fit right in. And I felt no clash with him. We weren't trying to like there wasn't no like, you know, it can be a real toxic relationship with two guitars.
Well, I think it's a chemistry thing because you know you can have two people that play the same instrument completely differently and they'll play well with each other. But sometimes it's like people who play more similarly. It's like if I'm playing with somebody that has a very similar brain wave as me, then we'll start stepping on each other a lot.
Absolutely,
we're going for the same turns, and that's not always a good thing.
Yeah, well, that's how I was with Jib, and he just felt. I think the biggest thing is that he listens so well, and he doesn't listen for like when can I shine. He listens for what's right for the parts, and is constantly. Everybody in the band is constantly like mindful about where their space was in the parts and like where it was as far as like in the space of the overall message of the songs we were working on. And then we decided we had three singers. We had one rapper, Dead Mike's, my female singer Lola, and then another male singer Adam, who had like a more rock indie vibe. And we were just kind of like misfits. Like here we were in this like really elusive, weird ass auto shop out in White Center, being super loud till 4 o'clock in the morning for like days, weeks straight. And even when we made the music, we weren't like, we're gonna make music so we can do this, and we can go on tour, we can do this. None of that mattered. We were all so fucking pissed about police brutality. Trayvon Martin was the thing at the time. Like it was just these constant themes that were happening over and over, and that's what fueled us. I was like, I remember coming to practice like teary-eyed and broken and feeling like I didn't know where my worth was, and not even wanting to go to practice sometimes, and Lola being like, we just have to go, and then showing up and expressing that to them, and just watching them work so hard to figure out the best way to serve that frustration that we had. And that's what sold me on like them being it was more than just a band, it's a family. Like there was no agenda, there was no like we're trying to be famous. We just needed to tell our story and how pissed we were. And we did that, and we made an album all the way through 2016, going into 2017, and I'm very proud of it. It's a concept album that just talks about, it's two sides, problems and solutions. That's the easiest way to break it down.
And is it out?
It is.
Okay. And what's the name of that album?
It's called Change.
Change. And when did it release?
I think we did like December something, 2017.
Okay.
Or 2016, because we made, I can't remember. 2016, 2017, one of those two.
So Complex Dialect Change.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was really funny too, because like we didn't know if we had an audience. We didn't know if we had anything. We made a Facebook, made a website. I don't really like fully talk about my shit because I always feel weird about internet promotion and stuff. So I said we just went honest, and we were just like, we made an album, we don't know what to do with it, so we're just gonna play it because we didn't record by that time. So we found an investor who fronted the cost of us renting out a warehouse, and I knew I didn't want to do it at some bar, and I didn't want to do it at some. We always try to make any show that we play, we try to make it like a different experience, to something that you wouldn't expect out of us, right? So that first show, I was like, I'm not going to play at High Dive or Sea Monster. We're going to make our space. So we rented out this like huge giant warehouse, and it had a capacity for like 200 people. We did the tickets ourselves. We did the stage ourselves. We built the stage. We had we did all the sound monitoring. We did 3D mapping projections on these like sculptures that we had built, and then programmed that for the show. And it didn't work that well because we didn't understand how lighting worked because everything was so fucking dark. So so we learned a lot too. But like at the end of the day, the thing still sold out, and it was literally all word of mouth. We didn't rely on like talking to people on the internet or just posting and hoping people would show up. Like we delivered tickets. We drove around for a month and a half straight being our own promotion team and did the work that people did in the 90s and the early 2000s of like not relying on the internet, and we really put in the work for it, and that sold out. And then from there we found our producer Eric Lillevoix, who runs London Bridge,
yeah.
and he was the one that recorded the album with us, and that was the best recording experience of my life. It was just fucking. It was like I hate producers. I hate the concept of like people wanting to change my shit. Like you don't know my shit better than I do. But Eric wasn't. He didn't give me that vibe. Eric was. He came to our practice in our weird ass spot in White Center. He sat with us in the grunge. He listened to us like rock out. Our bassist was on. Like by that time, our bassist had moved to the other side of the country. So like we were playing without our bassist, and he had to have imagination of wanting to know what that was like. And he got it. He still got it still. And he knew that the bass was going to be fine when we flew him back out to record. He didn't change a single thing.
Cool.
For our album. He said that we knew what we wanted to say. And that was his job as a producer.
Yeah, I mean,
to help people figure out what they're trying to say.
The Hollywood cliche of a producer is the guy who's the bad guy, corporate guy who's getting in the way of your beautiful art. And I learned stepping on your babies. But a real producer is someone who facilitates your art and helps you make the art the best, to represent the best that it can be.
And I'll be real, I was the asshole that was like, fuck producers. Yeah. Like I don't do that. And I learned. I learned through compassion. That dude is the kindest, most caring, will do anything within his power to make sure that you were like good. Like he taught me that like loving music goes beyond the idea of getting paid, or just it's about serving the music and really making sure that is cradled and taken care of. And he gave us like 3.5 months of pure time in the studio of just like figure it out. And we did so much experimentation and just weird fun things, and it was fun. Before when you're an artist on a budget, you go into a studio and you're thinking about one thing. You're like, I got this much amount. Right. You can't go over time. And it's like, gotta track this shit out and get this mixed and mastered in a week. And it's a 5-song EP. And this is like all the money I got. And I was like, that's been my entire life of recording.
It's not conducive for performing.
It isn't.
It creates too much what we call red light syndrome, where it's like, oh, I know I'm recording. It's not a lot of times I'll just tell people, hey, you're not recording right now. You're making music.
Yeah.
I'm recording.
Yeah. And that's
I like that a lot.
Having that vibe of going from that as a broke musician to getting an opportunity from a producer that actually legitimately cared and gave us the time and space to really cultivate our art, that was a change for me as an artist, of realizing I can give space and time for my craft, and that changes how well I do it. Everything doesn't have to be done right now. And so we did that. We recorded that album, got it on vinyl, which has always been a dream.
Love that.
It came out on Spotify. I think it broke like 500,000 plays on Spotify. That was like
nice.
It was weird, man.
Awesome.
Like then there was a hard time too. We had a manager that things didn't work out so well. He did some things like he cut our music off of online. We almost lost all of our plays. It got real ugly. And then that put us in a really hard spot where we had to navigate that. But we came out of that too, got our stuff back. Then we played the Showbox. That was a weird experience because I worked there and I felt like Cinderella.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I had to go to work the next day, like after playing the show, and it was just like, and I remember going into work and like, dude, like that production was like full on lights. We had like LCD panels behind us, and like this huge. It was our album release. It was like this huge thing, and my coworkers are there, and this whole thing's a thing, and I'm just like, this is fucking great. This is awesome. And I go and I play the show, and then I come back the next day, and it's just like, why are you here? Like, you were.
Yeah, like, okay, now go mop the floor.
Yeah, it was just like this weird like juxtaposition, but a part of me also kind of loved it. It was like, stay humble, dude. You haven't made it. You're not anything special. You just had a great experience. Now get back to fuck the work.
There is no made it. I mean, there is no arrival.
Yeah.
People think like, oh, once my ship comes in, or once I get that big check, or once I somehow stick it to the man and get some
Nah, dude, you're still
record deal
riding that
I'm
wave.
not going to have to earn.
Yeah.
No, there is no arrival.
Does it stop there?
You never.
Or what happens? I don't.
You never arrive. I don't want to arrive.
I don't know
Seriously.
what happens.
I want to keep going.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's Complex. And now
I love that.
now we've taken our space. We've learned that we don't have to crush time and shit, so we don't like make it a mandatory. We all need to get together and practice all the time. We actually kind of work in like little pods. Like me and Oz are like for this next album, we're trying a little different. The next album's probably gonna be different too. But this first one, like right now, me and Oz are writing the rhythm parts together. Like we get together at the studio, he jams out drum parts, and I'll play along with him. We record that, and we keep those as ideas, and we bank them. And we're just going through that process of like building up ideas and then mix and matching like what works as we bring in more and more members. And then once we have an idea of it, that's when we get together and practice. And I love
That's
it.
perfect.
I think that it takes the pressure off of us. 'Cause like I said, I modeled the Complex after kind of like the Avengers. I wanted it to be like all of us have our own individual movies. Like Mike and Adam are doing First Hill. Lola's working on her solo album. Craig's working on like a solo progressive metal album. Or not Craig, Oz is. Craig's working on like a 90s R&B album that's going to be fucking dope. Like all of us having like those little other things that we organize our releases out, and then after those things are a thing, we come back together as Complex, almost like the Avengers, do like a big event finale thing like that, and then we move into our next phases. And I think I got that mindset from Odd Future,
beautiful.
from like Wu-Tang.
It's such a healthy organism.
Right?
you
And
know?
my whole thing is like, I didn't want it to make it just about Complex. It needs to be about like the idea that they all have individual things that they want to say too. And I can't just own all of their time and be like, you only belong to Complex and this is all we're doing and you just got to be about. No, it's like, you got to figure your shit out too and have your space to say what you need to say, or else, like, it means nothing. So that's all. That's the idea behind it. And it's a weird,
That's spooky.
8-piece, dysfunctional, but very fulfilling family.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
That's
Yeah, man.
really cool.
I love them to death. Like, we call each other. We talk on the phone. Like, I talked to Oz earlier today. I talked to Craig, like, right when I was pulling up. Like, they've been, I'm so grateful. They've checked in on me in the midst of
Yeah.
this, and to have that. I mean, it's the small little things that we have to value out of each other, not these big, giant, grand gestures. Having someone call in the midst of an apocalypse can mean the world, you know. So I'm grateful for them. They're my family, and they've shown me time and time again that they care about me. So
Right on.
that's all, folks. For Complex.
That's a good.
Y'all want to play more music? How y'all feeling?
I'm always down to play more music.
Play like
Let's play some more music.
Yeah, we could play
15.
like a song or two.
10 minutes worth of music.
Yeah.
I'm totally down. Thank you
Let's
for
do some
sharing
more
all that.
music.
That's
Yeah,
amazing, by the way. I got it. I gotta commend you, man. I really can relate to a lot of that. I think one of the things, it's Nobi right there. I mean, this guy and I have been working together for 5 years. We're 2 weeks away from dropping our album, so hearing about your story is really inspiring, because that's very similar to like what we're kind of doing over here, and it's very cause driven. It's not driven about fitting in. It's about creating your own sound and
Absolutely.
your own identity. And it's really cool to hear other stories that are similar and about the same kind of causes, or just about a cause, period.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, I appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely, man. It's an honor to be able to share space with you guys.
Hell yeah.
This has been such a cool. Dude, first half of this day was not a good meal. I was like, I don't want to go nowhere. I don't want to do anything. And I was just like, but it's music, and you get that chance to just get it out, you know, and break bread with fellow people that feel the same, you know.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
thank you guys. I really appreciate the space.
It's a little healthy release, you know?
Yes, it is. That and a lot of weed.
Too. Wow, that was so fun.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
That was so fun playing with you today. It was just
Yeah.
like I felt like a kid in a candy store, and I was like, ooh, I haven't had that flavor before. That was fun.
Little great discussion too, and awesome playing. Super
man.
natural. Just didn't have to think about it.
Yeah, that was a
That's
whole
always the best
song
when you
right
don't-
there.
Huh?
That was a whole cut right there.
I know.
That's
I
a
mean,
beautiful cut.
yo, we can literally probably just take that file,
Yeah.
That's probably the cut.
right there.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
Well,
man.
we'd love to have you back sometime.
Yeah.
and,
Absolutely. Anytime. I got nothing but time.
you're
You know,
you're going to be
sometime
back in the
soon, 'cause
studio soon.
it's
Yes.
just- you're definitely like getting what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Really well. It's nice.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
And then we got friends.
Yeah.
You know, we got thank you guys for being here.
All
And the
socially
hard work
distanced.
that you guys are putting in. Like
Everyone is socially distanced.
socially distanced. I see masks.
Amazing.
We're doing it, guys.
We're doing it.
We
We're
gotta-
grown
we gotta
ups.
make it
We're
work.
grown ups finally.
Gotta make it work.
Well, when
So-
you're essential, you gotta lean into it.
Essential.
I love it. Well, everybody, thank you guys for joining us for this episode of Back of House featuring Earnie Ashwood for
Thank
some
you, guys.
awesome playing. Great discussion. Be sure to check out his band, The Complex Dialect, and keep your eyes out for his second album. I mean, I don't know. I think they probably have something to say that's going to be relevant to what's
Got a few
going on
things-
around us.
got a
And,
few things to say.
and that's a beautiful thing to see in the scene is somebody
Say
trying
some
to
of the same
trying to spark the conversation. So
real.
thank you for joining me and Philip Peterson, me Jacob Hillard, a.k.a. The Digital. We're here with Devin Lee on the direction. We got Quentin Peters and James Gertie on the shots. We got Gabe Taylor and then Matt Clifford on mixing. And then, huge shout out
KZ.
to M. Laverna and KZ for absolutely just slaying it on the social media PR side as well. And
Thanks to everybody that is watching out there, and we're gonna do more.
awesome.
Yes.
Great.
Cool.
Bye, guys.